What if the real retirement danger isn't running out of money, but running out of time? Not many people talk about this, but I've seen it over and over again. Men and women who worked faithfully into their 60s, clinging to their paychecks, calculating every last dollar, only to wake up one morning and realize they missed the most vibrant years of their life. And here's the truth: you can always adjust your budget, but you can't buy back your body, your energy, or those years with your grandchild on the floor calling your name. In this video, I'm going to show you why the most dangerous retirement mistake is not financial, it's emotional, and how the real cost of working past 60 isn't measured in dollars, but in dreams delayed, health declined, and joy postponed. I will show you 9 reasons why you should consider retiring today. Researchers show that nearly 48% of people who retire between 62 and 70 wish they had done it sooner. On average, they say they should have retired 4 years earlier. That's not opinion. That's data. And it's quietly haunting millions of older adults who waited just one more year. But here's the good news: you can still choose differently. You can step into retirement not with fear, but with clarity, confidence, and peace. So stay with me until the end, because what I'll show you might not only extend your life, it might bring it back to you. I would appreciate it if you like this video. It helps me continue sharing these healing truths about growing older with strength, peace, and positive energy. If you're like most people I've spoken to over the years, you probably believe that working longer automatically means retiring better. More savings, more security, more peace of mind, right? But what if I told you that the numbers do not add up the way we've been taught? What if those final working years after 60, the ones we cling to out of fear, are actually giving us less, not more? To understand this clearly, we need to look at the very first hidden cost that so many retirees discover far too late. Reason number 1: you work 2 extra years for just $300 a month. And how to see the truth before it's too late on paper. Working past 60 sounds like a smart move. 2 more years, 2 more paychecks, a little more cushion. Who wouldn't want that? But when we look deeper, the truth is quietly shocking. Researchers show that after age 60, each extra year of work delivers less and less financial return. Why? Because of hidden factors like higher taxes, missed Roth conversions, and poor timing with Social Security. It's not just about what you earn, it's about what you keep. Let me tell you about Tom, a 62-year-old accountant I worked with. Sharp man, dedicated. He was convinced that working 2 more years would finally secure his retirement. But when we did the math together, taking into account taxes, lost time for investment strategies, and health insurance costs, his entire reward boiled down to just $300 more per month. 2 full years of stress, office deadlines, and time away from his grandkids. For the equivalent of a cheap dinner out. He looked at me with disbelief in his eyes. And I'll never forget what he said. "I've spent 40 years chasing numbers. Why didn't anyone show me this side of the story?" Most people never see that side because the retirement advice we get is focused on accumulation. Save more, work longer, stay productive. But nobody tells you about diminishing returns. Nobody tells you how that last mile of the marathon might not be worth running, especially if it costs you your knees, your joy, or your presence. In my opinion, what Tom discovered wasn't a financial problem, it was a spiritual one. He had to unlearn the belief that worth comes from work. That rest is something to be earned. But retirement isn't the end of contribution. It's the beginning of living on your own terms. And when he finally let go, something softer took its place. Peace. Sometimes the best raise isn't in your paycheck, it's in your freedom. Let me ask you, have you ever kept working just because you were scared to stop? Think about that, and stay with me. Because the next point is even more personal. After seeing the numbers with Tom, many people ask me, but what if I just want to work a little longer to feel safer? I understand that. It feels responsible, even noble. But the part they're not thinking about is what that time costs them physically. Because while you can stretch your savings, your body doesn't stretch the same way. The next cost isn't just in your wallet. It's in your cells, your energy, and your health. Let us look at that now. Reason number 2, your health peaks in your early 60s, and how working longer quietly steals it. Most people assume that health slowly declines in a neat little line, that we'll have time to get around to retirement once things settle down. But the body doesn't work like that. Researchers show your early 60s are often the last window of peak physical ability. Your joints still move freely, your heart still bounces back from stress, and energy can still be replenished with a good night's sleep. After that, the slope can be sudden. One fall, one diagnosis, one flare-up, and plans change overnight. Now picture this. You're 64, still working full-time. You eat lunch at your desk, your back aches from long hours, and your doctor just mentioned prediabetes. You tell yourself, just one more year, then I'll travel, then I'll rest. But what if that one more year costs you your best shot at living fully, not just existing? I once worked with Sarah, a vibrant woman who dreamed for years of visiting Italy. She saved up, waited, worked late into her 60s to afford the trip. But when she finally retired, her knees gave out. Long walks through cobblestone streets weren't possible anymore. She still went. But the trip wasn't the same. And even now, she says, I wish I had gone when my body still felt like mine. We often trade time for money without realizing that time is the rarer currency. Dollars can grow. But youth, flexibility, the joy of a pain-free morning, those don't come back. And nobody teaches us to protect them. In my experience, the tragedy is not aging. The tragedy is postponing life until it's too late to enjoy. This isn't decay. It's a quiet invitation to listen to your body before it whispers something louder. Even if your health is still steady, there's another loss that sneaks by unnoticed. The loss of your prime years. These aren't just numbers on a calendar. They're the last chapter when your body, your freedom, and your dreams are still aligned. And once they're gone, they don't come back. Reason number 3, you miss the last golden window of life, and how to reclaim it before it closes. The early 60s are more than just a countdown to retirement. They're what I call the golden window, a precious span of years when you still have the strength to hike through mountains, the clarity to travel the world, and the stamina to chase your grandkids in the yard. These years are rich, not because of what you earn, but because of what you can still do. But I've seen far too many clients trade this window away for just a bit more savings. They delay retirement thinking they're being smart, but in truth, they're slowly giving away their freedom. They assume they'll have time later for the trip, the book, the garden, the guitar. But later, the knees hurt. Later, the spouse is ill. Later, the spark fades. There was a woman named Ellen I'll never forget. She worked until 67 because she wanted to be extra prepared. But by the time she stopped, her husband's health had declined, and their dream of living by the sea had vanished. They had the money, but not the time, not the health, not the freedom. And to this day, she tells me, we waited too long. We thought we were being responsible, but we missed it. In my opinion, this is one of the most painful losses. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's so quiet. You never realize the moment the window closes. You just wake up one day and realize you're living a smaller version of the life you once dreamed of. You're not failing. You're running out of the time you were meant to thrive. By now, you've seen that time, health, and joy don't always wait for our perfect plan. But what's even more surprising is that working longer often doesn't give you the financial gain you expect either. Many people believe that more years at the office must equal a stronger retirement. But the truth? After 60, the financial return of each extra year begins to shrink, faster than most realize. Tip number 4. The more you work after 60, the less it actually pays off. And how to protect yourself from diminishing returns. Most retirement calculators give you a nice straight line. Every year it says you're adding more value, more savings, more growth. But real life doesn't follow a straight line. After 60, your income might go up. But so do your taxes. Your Medicare premiums may spike. You might miss out on powerful tax moves like Roth conversions. Suddenly, that big paycheck isn't adding as much as it used to. And in some cases, it's actually costing you. I remember a client named Roger, a 65-year-old engineer who loved charts, numbers, spreadsheets. He stayed at work until 68, thinking he'd make his retirement bulletproof. But when we reviewed the impact, we found that those extra 3 years only gave him a 5% bump in his nest egg, after taxes. What hit him hardest was realizing he had given up 3 golden years of energy, travel, and freedom for a number that barely moved. Researchers show that this pattern is common, and the biggest reason is psychological. We've been trained to think more is always better. More years, more dollars, more security. But in retirement, that mindset backfires. After a certain point, more doesn't bring more joy. It just delays it. From what I've seen, people don't regret having less money. They regret missing the life they could have had when they were still strong enough to enjoy it. You don't need to squeeze the orange dry. Sometimes, it's enough to taste the sweetness while it's still fresh. Even when the math doesn't justify working longer, many people still hesitate to retire. Why? It's not about the numbers anymore. It's about something more personal, more human. The quiet fears we carry. And one of the deepest fears is the fear of regret. Tip number 5. Nearly half of retirees wish they had quit sooner. And how to avoid that quiet heartache. Researchers show that 48% of retirees between age 62 and 70 wish they had retired earlier. On average, they say they waited 4 years too long. That's not just a statistic. That's a silent epidemic of regret. And most of it comes from missing things they can never get back. I had a client once named Linda. She worked into her late 60s, waiting for the right time to retire. She wanted everything to line up: the market, her mortgage, her budget. But while she was waiting, her grandkids grew from toddlers into teenagers. She missed their little voices, their messy drawings, their hand in hers. And even now, with a healthy nest egg, she tells me, if I could go back, I'd trade some of that money for just one more afternoon with them at that age. The truth is, time doesn't give you warnings. It just slips, and no paycheck, no matter how large, can buy back the early years of freedom, presence, and joy. Most people assume the biggest risk is retiring too early. But in reality, the bigger danger is waiting too long. In my view, regret is heavier than any budget cut. Because we can adapt to less money. But we cannot adapt to missed memories. This isn't about being irresponsible. It's about being awake to what truly matters. So if nearly half of people regret working too long, why do so many still do it? Why do they keep pushing year after year, even when the math and their heart say otherwise? The answer lies in something much deeper than finances. It's the hidden beliefs we carry, the emotional traps that quietly shape our choices. 6. Just one more year can steal a decade, and how to escape the trap of delay. It sounds harmless. I'll just work one more year, then I'll retire. But 1 year becomes 2. 2 becomes 5. And before you know it, an entire decade has vanished. Not because of crisis, but because of hesitation. Researchers show that we tend to overestimate the benefit of future income and underestimate the cost of time lost. It's a cognitive bias, and it's stealing people's best years. I remember a man named Bill, a school principal who had everything ready to go at 62. But he kept saying, just one more year to top it off. By the time we finally met again, he was 69. His knees had gone bad, his wife's health had turned, and the RV they bought for retirement had barely moved. He looked at me and said, "I don't know what happened. I just kept saying, 'Not yet.'" What breaks my heart is how normal this is. No dramatic catastrophe. Just a slow, quiet drifting. A loyalty to work, to fear, to being responsible, that robs us of the life we quietly dreamed about. In my experience, the real danger isn't making the wrong move. It's never making the move at all. Time rarely knocks. It whispers and waits for you to answer. We often tell ourselves we're being careful, that staying in the job a little longer is the responsible thing to do. But behind that logic, there's something else. Something quieter, more emotional. It's the belief that as long as we're working, we're safe. But is that really true? 7. The paycheck feels safe, but it might be keeping you from real security. One of the most common reasons people delay retirement is the illusion of safety. That steady paycheck feels like a warm blanket, predictable, comforting, familiar, and yes, there's comfort in routine. But here's what I've seen over and over again. A carefully built retirement plan can offer just as much peace of mind without costing you your freedom. With smart planning, Social Security optimization, thoughtful withdrawal strategies, and basic tax awareness, you can replicate the same income streams that your paycheck gave you, without the office, the stress, or the alarm clock. But many older adults don't see this because they've been taught to measure safety in salary, not in flexibility. Let me tell you about a woman named Carol. She stayed at her job until 66. Not because she needed the money, but because she was afraid of losing the routine. When she finally retired, she was shocked to find that her financial advisor had already structured everything: automatic deposits, healthcare coverage, and more. It felt just like getting a paycheck, she told me. Only now, I wake up when I want, and I have time to read to my grandkids. In my opinion, safety isn't just about numbers. It's about knowing that your life still belongs to you. And often, the biggest risk is not a market downturn, but a life half-lived out of fear. True security isn't found in your paycheck. It's found in your peace. So I'll ask gently, have you confused financial stability with emotional safety? In the next section, we'll talk about identity and how it can keep even the most successful people stuck at their desk long after their heart has moved on. Even after the numbers make sense, the health is steady, and the plan is sound, some people still can't let go. And when I ask why, the answer isn't fear or finances. It's something more personal. They simply don't know who they are without their job. Number 8, your job isn't your identity. And how to retire without losing yourself. For many, especially those who've built careers over decades, work becomes more than a paycheck. It becomes purpose, the title, the routine, the feeling of being needed. It forms a second skin. And the thought of walking away feels like giving up a part of who you are. But what I've learned is this: retirement doesn't erase identity. It expands it. You're not losing yourself. You're meeting the parts of you that have been waiting patiently in the background. One of my clients, Mark, was a dentist for over 30 years. His name was on the door. His patients loved him. His staff adored him. But when we spoke about retirement, he looked down and said, "I don't know who I'll be without this." Still, he took the leap at 64. And just months later, he started mentoring younger dentists, joined a woodworking group, and picked up the guitar again, something he had not touched since college. He wasn't lost. He was reborn. We forget that identity is not fixed. You are not just a profession. You are a thinker, a creator, a grandfather, a dreamer. Retirement doesn't steal your worth. It gives it room to breathe. In my view, The best part of retiring is not the freedom from work. It's the freedom to rediscover yourself. You are more than what you do. You are who you've become, even when no one's watching. Even after you've run the race, hit your goals, and built a meaningful life. Some part of you may still whisper, "Keep going." For high achievers, letting go of work isn't about fear. It's about momentum, about the need to win, to stay sharp, to keep proving something. But what happens when success itself becomes the trap? Number 9. The success habit can steal your joy. And how to step off the treadmill gracefully. For doctors, executives, entrepreneurs, retirement can feel like a threat. Not because they need the money, but because their identity is deeply tied to performance. And they worry that stopping means slipping, or being forgotten, or losing their edge. But here's the hard truth. Success that never pauses becomes a prison. I worked with a man named Alan, a 66-year-old business owner who had made it by every measure. He had the house, the cars, the portfolio. But when I asked what he was working toward, he went quiet. After a long pause, he said, "I don't know. I guess I just don't know how to stop." It took him another 2 years and a health scare before he finally stepped back. And when he did, he told me, "I didn't lose anything. I found everything I had been missing." Researchers show that chasing more doesn't always lead to more satisfaction. In fact, beyond a certain point, the return on success flatlines. More titles, more meetings, more pressure, but less time, less stillness, less soul. In my opinion, there's a sacred kind of power in knowing when to stop climbing, in choosing peace over applause, in valuing mornings on the porch more than meetings in the boardroom. Sometimes, the most courageous thing you can do is rest. After all the numbers, fears, and stories, one truth rises above them all. Retirement isn't just a financial decision, it's a life decision. And the most joyful retirements I've ever seen come not from hitting a magic number, but from finding the right balance. Bonus! Tip number 10. Retirement satisfaction comes from balance, not a bigger bank account. The happiest retirees aren't always the wealthiest. In fact, researchers show that once your basic needs are met, extra money adds little to long-term happiness. What matters more? Retiring while you still have your health, your energy, and your sense of purpose. There's a study from social science and medicine that confirms this. Early retirement, timed well, improves both the length and the quality of your life. Not because you have more money, but because you have more time to move, to connect, to heal. I've seen this truth play out again and again. People who retire with enough, not millions, just enough, and who walk away while they still feel alive inside. They glow, they garden, they travel, they laugh. And when I ask them what they would have done differently, they smile and say, "I would have done it sooner." In my view, the key isn't to maximize, it's to harmonize, to know when to stop gathering and start enjoying, to know when to stop building and simply be. Success isn't reaching a number. It's reaching a season of life where you can finally breathe. So now I ask you, are you chasing more, or are you ready for enough? Let us now bring it all home. Because what comes next could change how you see your final working years forever. Let we return to the question that opened our journey. What if the real retirement danger isn't running out of money, but running out of time? You've seen how extra years of work after 60 often bring diminishing returns, hidden regrets, and missed moments that money can never replace. But you've also seen something deeper, that you are allowed to stop chasing, to rest, to live. Retirement is not the end of usefulness. It is the beginning of freedom, rediscovery, and peace. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are right on time to choose differently. Whether it's for your health, your loved ones, or your quiet dreams, the path toward a more joyful retirement is still open to you. So now I ask gently, what would your life feel like if you finally gave yourself permission to let go? If this spoke to you, leave a comment and write, Number 1. I read every word, and your story matters here. Subscribe for more healing truths and positive energy. Because aging should never mean silence, shame, or surrender. See you in the next video.